Here we are reading from the Madhya Lila, chapter 9. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travels to the holy places. And we are in the middle of the pastime of the Brahman, illiterate Brahman, who is reciting the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita in the temple, but he's illiterate, he cannot read, so most of the Sanskrit is pronounced wrong. And Lord Chaitanya approached him that, yes, says, he said to the Brahman, yes, I see you are in ecstatic love. That what portion of Bhagavad Gita gives you such a transcendental pleasure? The Brahman replied, I'm illiterate and therefore do not know the meaning of the words. Sometimes I read Bhagavad Gita correctly and sometimes incorrectly, but in any case, I'm doing this in compliance with the orders of my spiritual master. Actually, I see only Krishna sitting on a chariot, as Arjuna's chariot here, taking the reins in his hand. He appears very beautiful and blackish. While seeing Lord Krishna sitting in a chariot and instructing Arjuna, I'm filled with ecstatic happiness. Today we start with text 101. Yavat padam tavat pana tanam darasana elahita pati nachate mulamana. As long as I read the Bhagavad Gita, I see the Lord's beautiful features. It is for this reason that I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita and my mind cannot be distracted from this. Does that when someone has a Bhagavad Gita? Text 102. Prabhu Kai Gita Pate Tomara Adhikara Tume Chechanaha Ekitara Asasara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told the Brahman, indeed, you are an authority in the reading of the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you know constitutes the real purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. According to the Shastras, Bhaktya Bhagavatam Jayam na Bhutya na Satikaya. One should understand the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam by hearing from a real devotee. One cannot understand them simply by erudite scholarship and sharp intelligence. It is also said, Gita Dita Sanyapi Bhakti Bhavena Sekasa Veda Shastra Puranani Vinadita Sarvasa. To one who reads Bhagavad Gita with faith and devotion, the essence of Vedic knowledge is revealed. According to the Svetaspata Upanishad 6.23, Yasya Deva Bhaktyayatha Devi Tatato Tasheta Kaita Yafta Pakasayanta Mahatma. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. All Vedic literatures are to be understood with faith and devotion, not by mundane scholarship. We have therefore presented Bhagavad Gita as it is. There are many so-called scholars and philosophers who read the Bhagavad Gita in a scholarly way. They simply waste their time and mislead those who read their commentaries. Chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Chichetanyamanobishtam staptam yena bhuttale shramrabhakadamyam dadati svapalantikam. Vandeyam Shiru Shiyuda Pamadakamanam Shigurum Vaishnavam Shah Shirupam Sarjatam Sakanaragnatam Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parjana Saitam Krishnatstanya Devam Shirada Krishna Padan Sakanalita Shivshakam Vitamsa He Krishna Karuna Sindhudina Bandhajat Pate Gopesha Goprakantaran Kantanastati Tapta Kansna Gaurangira Devi Navanashri Vishvana Sutadevi Pranamama Prepri Vanka Kauta Vishakti Pasan Veksha Patnam Pavan Vyo Vaishya Vyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavin Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani. Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paschachai Desantarani. Srila Prabhupada. So, who can understand Bhagavad Gita? This illiterate Brahman has understood Bhagavad Gita. And Lord Chaitanya will confirm that a little further. So how to understand Bhagavad Gita? Srila Prabhupada, he addresses this point in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. That in the 4th chapter of the Gita, the Lord says, Imam Vishvasvateo Kam Bhaktavam Am Afyam Vipashvan Manave Pravaman Ikshpakave Pravit Evam Paramparam Praptam Imam Rajasayo Vidu Sakalne Mata Yognasta Prantama. Saivya Mayatidya Yoga Bhakta Puratana Bhaktasima Sakasti Rasyam Yetam Uttamam. So, Srila Prabhupada explains here, these 3 verses explains how to understand the Bhagavad Gita. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the sun god, and the sun god explained it to Manu. And Manu explained it to Ikshvaku. And in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he's relating this supreme secret to him because he is his devotee and his friend. So the purpose of this is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are 3 classes of transcendentalists, namely the Jnani, the Yogi, and the Bhakta, or the impersonalist, the meditator, and the devotee. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he's making him the first receiver of a new parampara, because the old was broken. That it was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the sun god to others. And it was his wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding Bhagavad Gita. So we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially Arjuna, because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, a direct student of Krishna and his intimate friends. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has similar qualities to Arjuna.
Can we put this because it's sound?
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So the Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna's. That is to say, he must be a devotee in a direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter. But briefly, it can be stated that the devotee is in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of the 5 different ways. And then speaks about the rasas. A devotee in a passive state, in an active state, as a friend, as a parent, as a conjugal, a lover. So he chose Arjuna because he was a friend and a devotee. He had a direct relationship with the Lord. That's also at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, that's confirmed, where Krishna says, one should not explain this secret of devotional service to one who is not austere and who is not my devotee. That's interesting. But what is the proof because we see this Brahmin here, he had symptoms of ecstatic love. And Lord Chaitanya, he saw this, he understood this situation. But how can one know that one has understood Bhagavad Gita? Srila Prabhupada explained it in this introduction, that Arjuna accepted the Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter. After the Chatur Sloka, Bhagavad Gita Chatur Slokas, then Arjuna says, Param Brahma Param Dhamam Pavitram Paranam Bhavam Purusham Sasvatam Divyam Adidev Macham Vibhu Ustvam Reshaya Sarve Devarshinarta Tata Asito Devale Vyasa Sarvasheva Bhavishime Sarvamitari Tammanye Yamam Vadashi Keshava Nai Te Bhagavam Vyaktim Virturteva Nadanava. Arjuna said, you are the supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading duty. All the great sages like Narada, Asito, Deval, and Vyasa proclaim this of you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. Oh Krishna, I totally accept the truth you have told me. Neither the gods nor demons that, oh Lord, know thy personality. So Srila Prabhupada said, this is the proof. Yes, Arjuna has accepted the Bhagavad Gita and realized it. So that's, yeah, that, but this Bhagavad Gita is very important for us. Bhagavad Gita is also called the Gita Upanishad. And it is the essence of all the Upanishads.
that the Upanishads is the knowledge behind the Vedas. There are 4 Vedas: Rig, Atharva, Yajur, and the Samaveda. And they have each 4 parts. The first part of the Vedas is the text, the Samhita. The second part is called the Brahmanas. Have nothing to do with Brahmans, but it's the same text of the Samhita, but with explications how to pronounce it correctly. Because the result of the sacrifices based on the Vedas, there these Vedic hymns were recited, and the result depended on the proper pronunciation. Then the third part of each Veda is the Aranyakas. Aranyakas, they are sacrifices related to each Veda. And in this Aranyakas, you find explained how to do the sacrifice, which spoon we have to use, which mantras you have to say. Everything is there for the sacrifice. But then the 4th part of each Vedas are the Upanishads. And there are many Upanishads, 108 primary, but there are more, 160, 180, I don't know exactly. But so these Upanishads, they give the transcendental knowledge behind all these Vedas. Transcendental knowledge, the knowledge. And all this knowledge is being, it's summarized in the Vedanta Sutra also, but also the Gita is called Gita Upanishad. It is the summary or the essence of all these Upanishads. And I think there are about 18 Upanishads which Srila Prabhupada regularly quotes in his purports. And to show the relationship with the Bhagavad Gita and these Upanishads, we find in the verse 220 in Bhagavad Gita, and that is an essential verse because all the verses before they speak about the qualities, characteristics of the spirit soul, but that puts it all together. It's Nachayate Michaveva Kadachinayam Budvaba Vidva Nabuyaha Ayonitya Sasvatoyam Purana Nahanyate Hanyamani Sarira. For the soul there is never birth, nor death, nor having once been, nor does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So that's a verse spoken by Krishna. Najayate Mejave Vakadachin, Nyambudvana Vitavana Buyaha, Ayonitya Saspatoyam Purana, Nahanyate Hanimana Sarire. But then there is a verse in the Katha Upanishad, 1-18. And that's practically the same verse. There are a few Sanskrit words different than what Krishna says. It says, Najayate Michaveva Pivipachin, Nayam Kutachin, Na Vibhuva Kachit, Ayonitya Sasvatoyam Purano, Nahanyate Hanyamani Sarire. So, Srila Prabhupada writes, the meaning and purport of this verse is the same as in the Bhagavad Gita. But here in this verse, there is one special word, pipachit, which means learned or with knowledge. That So we see therefore the importance of the Bhagavad Gita, and it is said that I think it was it Madhu Dvisa also, he came back from Corsica, which is an island in France, to Paris to meet Prabhupada. And with him was traveling a French general of the French army. And when he met Prabhupada, he said, "Yet I'm a very busy man, I have not much time, but tell me what's the most important chapter in Bhagavad Gita, and I will read that." And he said, "It's chapter 9. Chapter 9 of the Gita." And that's because the 6 most important chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are the 6 middle chapters, from chapter 7 till 12, because that's about devotional service, and that's the essence. And of these chapters, the essence is chapter 9. And of chapter 9, the most important verse is a verse twice quoted in Bhagavad Gita. There are 2 verses twice quoted, but this verse is Manmanabha Madbhakto Majinimam Namaskar. And that's the most important verse of Bhagavad Gita. That's the essence. That, yes. And we see here, this Brahman has understood the essence, and he was just in ecstasy. Of course, that he was reciting these verses, and he says to Lord Chaitanya, I don't even the meaning of the verses, but I'm just reciting them. And then I see Krishna in my mind, sitting on the chariot of Arjuna, and he's serving his devotee, and I feel so attracted to it. Tears are coming from my eyes to see the Lord for his devotee. Of course, that does not mean that we don't need to study Bhagavad Gita. No, we must study Bhagavad Gita. And Yasya Devi Prabhaktir, Srila Prabhupada says here that yes, when one has unflinching faith in the Vedas and the instructions in the spiritual master, all the imports of the Vedas are revealed. But faith and knowledge go together. There are 3 levels of devotees. The beginner, the Kanishta, yes, very some faith, but practically no faith, and knowledge, no knowledge. And that's very dangerous. Then you can be convinced every moment and to give up the path of devotional service. If we don't have knowledge, we are in danger. So this knowledge strengthens our faith. But this Brahman here, he had this knowledge, but he has realized this knowledge. It is a higher knowledge. Jnana and Vijnana. So he must come to the Vijnana, and he got the Vijnana. It's a higher knowledge. We see also like when Uddhav tried to convince Nanda Maharaj that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the super soul in everyone's heart. Then Nanda Maharaj said, "Oh, Uddhav, I know you are younger than me, and I forgive you. I know that God is Narayan or Salakam Shila and so on. But what you say is not correct. Lord Narayan, he speaks always the truth. that, but my Krishna is expert in speaking lies. And my Krishna steals. And Lord Narayan, he's always self-controlled and so on. But my Krishna, if I don't feed him in time, he becomes angry. So, of course, he was fixed in his love for Krishna. He's an eternal residence of the spiritual world, nothing to do with the material energy. He has a higher knowledge. And that higher knowledge is love for Krishna. That's a higher realization of the knowledge. And this Brahman here had this realization that so in this introduction of Bhagavad Gita is very instructive. Srila Prabhupada speaks about Bhagavad Gita and the 5 subject matters and explains them in summary. So Srila Prabhupada writes in this introduction, Lord Krishna descends specifically to re-establish the real purpose of life. When man forgets that purpose, even then, out of many, many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters in the spirit of understanding his position. And for him, this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. So it's actually for one who enters the spiritual understanding of his position. One knows, I'm a part and parcel of Krishna, the spirit soul. Actually, we are followed by the tiger of nations, but the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance. But Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life, so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chart out the plan of life. Then man could act accordingly and perfect the mission of life. So that's from the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. Now we can continue reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, text 103. Itabalisa vivakaila aningana prabhupada dari viprakarana rodana. After saying this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced the Brahman. And the Brahman, catching the lotus feet of the Lord, began to cry. The Brahman said, upon seeing you, my happiness is doubled. I think that you are the same Lord Krishna. So that's interesting. That shows how this Brahman was self-realized. He knew Krishna, so he knew Lord Chaitanya was Krishna. So, the mind of the Brahman was purified by the revelation of Lord Krishna, and therefore he could understand the truth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in all details. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then taught the Brahman very thoroughly and requested him not to disclose that the fact that he was Lord Krishna himself. The Brahman became a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And for 4 continuous months, he did not give up the Lord's company. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained at the house of Venkata Bhatta and constantly talked with him about Lord Krishna. In this way, he was very happy. So Venkata Bhatta. Who is Venkata Bhatta? His son is one of the 6 Goswamis, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And so Venkata Bhatta, he was a follower of the Sri Sampradaya. Sri Sampradaya are worshipping Lakshmi Narayan. And he was attached to the worship of Lakshmi Narayan. So they think Lakshmi Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they don't know that Lakshmi Narayan is an expansion of Radha Krishna. And but Lord Chaitanya will change his understanding. He will stay 4 months, the entire Chaturmasya, at the home of Venkata Bhatta. And they would every day discuss the pastimes of the Lord. And at a certain moment, Lord Chaitanya would say, Venkata Bhatta, why is Lakshmi trying to enter the conjugal pastimes of Krishna? She wanted to become a gopi. Why did she want this? And Venkata Bhatta said, yeah, that Narayana Krishna is the same. So what's the point? It's the same. It's he saw more Krishna as an expansion of Narayan. So it's the same. So what fault is in her? That this Lord Chaitanya said, but why? But why would she do that? And why could she not enter Krishna's pastimes? You know, why couldn't she become a gopi and engage in the rasa dance? And for all these points, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes verses from the scripture yeah. So that is an important question. Because then Lord Chaitanya said, because the Vedas personified, they became also gopis. And they could associate with Krishna in the rasa dance. So why was it not possible for Lakshmi? So that is going on, and I will read these verses and we will keep you in suspense. The answer will come at the end, but I will read the verses. So, being a Vaishnava in Ramanuja Sampradaya, Venkata Bhatta worshipped the deities of Lakshmi and Narayan. Seeing his pure devotion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. Constantly associating with each other, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Venkata Bhatta gradually developed a friendly relationship. Indeed, sometimes they laughed and joked together. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Bhattacharya, your worshipful gods of fortune, Lakshmi, always remains on the chest of Narayan and is certainly the most chaste woman in the creation. However, my Lord Krishna, a cowherd boy, is engaged in tending cows. Why is it that Lakshmi, being such a chaste wife, wants to associate with my Lord? Just to associate with Krishna, Lakshmi abandoned all transcendental happiness in Vaikuntha and for a long time accepted vows on regulative principles and performed unlimited austerities. It is said that she is still doing that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "O Lord, we do not know how the serpent Kaliya attained such an opportunity to be touched by the dust of your lotus feet. Even the gods of fortune for this end performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and observing austere vows. Indeed, we do not know how the serpent Kaliya got such an opportunities." This is after Krishna danced on the heads of Kaliya. Then after that, the wives of Kaliya, so they pray to the Lord and they speak this verse. Why is our husband? Why did he get that mercy? That great yogis don't get that. Venkata Bhatta said, Lord Krishna and Lord Narayana are one and the same, but the pastimes of Krishna are more relishable due to the sportive nature. Since Krishna and Narayana are the same personality, Lakshmi's association with Krishna does not break her vow of chastity. Rather, it was in great fun that the goddess of fortune wanted to associate with Lord Krishna. So, Venkata Bhatta continued. According to transcendental realization, there is no difference between the forms of Narayana and Krishna. Yet in Krishna, there is a special transcendental attraction due to the conjugal mellow. And consequently, he surpasses Narayana. That is the conclusion of transcendental mellows. So that's a verse which is also found in Nectar of Devotion. So the gods of fortune considered that their vow of chastity would not be damaged by the relationship of Krishna. Rather, by association with Krishna, she would enjoy the benefit of the rasa dance. So he says, in Krishna there is a special attraction in this conjugal love. Because Krishna has 4 qualities that Lord Narayan does not have. He has this amazing pastimes with his devotee. He has an unparalleled beauty, and then there's this conjugal love, that conjugal mellow, which is, and of course that he plays a flute. So these are qualities Lord Narayan does not have. That interesting. Venkata Bhatta explained, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is also a joy of transcendental bliss. Therefore, if she wanted to enjoy herself with Krishna, what fault is there? Why are you joking so about this? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, I know that there is no fault on the part of the goddess of fortune, but still, she could not enter the rasa dance. We hear this from the revealed scriptures. When Lord Sri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the rasa dance, the gopis were embraced around the neck by the Lord's arms. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or the other consorts in the spiritual world, nor was such a thing even imagined by the most beautiful girls in the heavenly planets, girls whose bodily luster and aroma exactly resemble the beauty and fragrance of the lotus flowers. And what to speak of worldly women, who may be very, very beautiful in material estimation. But can you tell me why the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, could not enter the rasa dance? The authorities of Vedic knowledge could enter the dance and associate with Krishna. Great sages conquer the mind and senses, and by practicing the mystic yoga system and controlling the breath. Thus, engaging in mystic yoga, they see the super soul within their hearts and ultimately enter into the impersonal Brahman. But even the enemies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead attain that position simply by thinking of the Supreme Lord. However, the Dhammas of Raj, the gopis, being attracted by the beauty of Krishna, simply wanted to embrace him and his arms, which are like serpents. Thus the gopis ultimately taste the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, we Upanishads can also taste the nectar of his lotus feet by following in the footsteps of the gopis. Having been asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu why the goddess of fortune could not enter the rasa dance, whereas the authorities on Vedic knowledge could, Venkata Bhatta replied, I cannot enter into the mysteries of this behavior. I'm an ordinary human being, since my intelligence is very limited and I'm easily agitated. My Lord cannot enter within the deep ocean of the pastimes of the Lord. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. You know the purpose of all activities, and the person whom you enlighten can also understand your pastimes. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his pastimes cannot be understood by blunt material senses. One has to purify the senses by rendering transcendental loving service unto the Lord. When the Lord is pleased and reveals himself, one can understand the transcendental form, name, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. This is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad and Mukunda Upanishad. Anyone who is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead can understand his transcendental name, qualities, form, and pastimes. Then the Lord replied, Lord Krishna has a special characteristic. He attracts everyone's heart by the mellow of his personal conjugal love. So that is one of the 4 specific characteristics of Krishna. By following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of the planet known as Vrajaloka or Goloka Vrindavan, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. However, in that planet, the inhabitants do not know that Lord Krishna is the personality of Godhead. They don't know in Goloka Vrindavan. There someone may accept him as his son and sometimes bind him to a grinding mortar. What pastime is this? That's the Damodar Lila, which is mentioned here. Or someone else may accept him as an intimate friend and attaining victory over him, plainly mount his shoulders. The inhabitants of Vrajabhumi know Krishna as the son of Maharaj Nanda, the king of Vrajabhumi, and they consider that they have no relationship with the Lord in the rasa of opulence. One who worships the Lord by following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi attains him in the transcendental planet of Vraj, where he is known as the son of Maharaj Nanda. I read the purport. The inhabitants of Vrajabhumi or Goloka Vrindavan know Krishna as the son of Maharaj Nanda. They do not accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead as people in general do. The Lord is the supreme maintainer of everyone and the chief personality among all personalities. In Vrajabhumi, Krishna is certainly the central point of love, but no one knows him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, a person may know him as a friend, lover, or master. In any case, Krishna is the center. The inhabitants of Vrajabhumi are related to the Lord in servitude, friendship, parental love, and conjugal love. A person engaged in devotion service may accept one of these transcendental relationships, which are known as mellows. When such a person reaches the perfectional state, he returns home back to Godhead in his spiritual identity. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then quoted, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, the son of Mother Yasoda, is accessible to those devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but is not easily accessible to mental speculators to those striving for self-realization by austerities and penances for those who consider the body as the self. The authorities of the Vedas, who are known as the Shruti-ganas, worship Lord Krishna in ecstasy of the gopis and followed in their footsteps. The authorities in Vedic literature, who are known as the Shruti-ganas, desire to enter into Lord Krishna's residence. Therefore, they began to worship the Lord in the ecstasy of the gopis. In the beginning, however, they were successful. They could not enter the rasa then simply by thinking of Krishna in the ecstasy of the gopis. They actually accepted bodies like those of the gopis. They even took birth in Vrajabhuma, just like the gopis, and constantly became engrossed in the ecstasy of the gopis' love. In this way, they were allowed to enter into the rasa lila dance. But Mother Lakshmi could not, because she could not give up her mentality of being Lakshmi. That's the problem. But after hearing this, you can read next time. After hearing this, then Venkata he becomes a devotee of Krishna. That he understands the supreme position of Lord Krishna. As it is Shamskalapam Sam Krishna's to Bhagavantulam. Hare Krishna. So, yes. You want to ask a question?
So, Maharaj, I have two questions. Before that, I want to ask, Gopal Bhatt is the son of Venkata?
Yeah, Venkata Bhatt is his son. One of the 6 famous Goswamis.
My two questions. First question is, I heard from a devotee that when the person who anchors, who runs after women and the palatable dishes, I don't know which verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but I heard from him statement from Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah, we have read the verse wherein that he said.
What is the verse?
So it said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the mother of Yasoda, is accessible to those devotees engaged in spontaneous service, but is not easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, and those who consider the body the same as the self. Those who consider the body as the same as the self. So it's a sense enjoyment, they think they are the body.
So if I have both the things,
Yes?
if I have both the things, if I anchoring for the both the things, so then what is your suggestion for me? So where I have to start?
Then you are a sahaja, trying to enjoy the world and trying to become attached to Krishna. But you cannot become attached to Krishna unless you give up your hankering for this world.
So what is my approach? What is the position? Where I have to start?
Then you start with using your hankerings in the service of Krishna, dovetail them. But that you must do under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. And he will study your case and explain what he's liberated. He has disentangled himself from material nature. He knows how to do it. He has done it, so he can explain you. Therefore, it's important that you accept a liberated person as your spiritual master. It's not easy. Okay, there is another question. Yes. Yes, that's the point. Yes, what's our hope if Krishna is only placed with the spontaneous devotional service and we are not on that platform? That, yes, it's a question to please Krishna. And if we follow Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, which is a mechanistic way to purify us, and we do it strictly and we avoid the four sinful activities and engage in our bhajan as prescribed by the spiritual master, then it may not be out of love. We do it on order of the spiritual master. But Krishna, if we do that and we are determined and studying it and sincere, then Krishna will still be pleased with us because we try to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And when he becomes pleased with us, he will start to purify our heart. And gradually the spontaneous love of Krishna will arouse. Does that help? It's not that's going to happen tomorrow at 7 p.m. and 5 minutes, then suddenly I get it. No, it's a gradual process of purification of the heart. And you have to go to a lot of troubles and tolerate, because sometimes the purification of the heart is painful. But it's suffering to never suffer again. So that's good. Yeah, maybe that was not the answer you expected. But that's it. Some secret. Yeah. Well, Lord Krishna speaks about the secrets of devotional service. But the secret, I can tell you, man mana bhav mat bhakto machi mam namaskar. That's man abhaisha satyam te patichani priyosime. But after that, you have to surrender. Sarvdam prisham mamkam sampucham tvam sarvapadhyamaksishyamatcha. And after surrender, you have to preach. Krishna says, one who studies this secret conversation of mine is performing pure devotional service. Then you have to preach, because Krishna says there is no one more dear than me, than the preacher. So these are all stages that, so becoming a preacher, that's the secret. Hare Krishna.
Add to that point, like Prabhupada said, what is the secret of the success of one guru? Then Prabhupada said, Trinada Kishni Chain.
Yeah, sure. That's the inner mood. That then good point. Something else?
Like it's a scenario question. So the thing is, like, if a new person comes and if she disturbs brahmachari or if she disturbs some people here, so if Prabhupada is here, what he will do? If she sees this thing, and what he will do?
That's difficult to say. Prabhupada would see the person that disturbs and would understand the situation deeply, because he sees the soul and how it is contaminated. But we are not on that platform. And yeah, sometimes we do the wrong thing. but it's but we have to see the circumstances. That's the remedy may be, or the action that one must take may be completely different according from situation to situation. So we have to see that. Good. Thank you very much. Shantaraj, Chaitanyam, Chaitamrita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai.